Hi, welcome to 2021. My name is Honourable TheHande, and these are my top 5 writers for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And yes, there will be a follow-up video on my bottom 5 writers for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Now, while this list had probably the easiest top 3 that I had ever had to come up with, I did struggle a bit with positions 5 and 4 and had to come up with pretty strict criteria. Because there are certain writers who wrote excellent episodes, but unfortunately only wrote one excellent episode. However, I do have to give an honorable mention to Robert Forward Jr. and Leslie Wilson. Both of these writers were responsible for The Rainbow Warrior and The Problem with Power, that latter episode also having a third writer, Tom Tataranowitz. I also have to give credit to Barney Cohen, who wrote The Evil Seed, which is also the one-time directorial duty of its particular episode director. And also, I do have to give a nod to Douglas Booth, who is responsible for introducing Uncle Montork into the He-Man series, and he wrote a whole bunch of different episodes. Unfortunately, the quality of his writing was very erratic, and that's the reason why I really couldn't have him on the list. But enough introductions, let's get on with the list. Number 5, Marc Scott Zicree. Now, Marc Scott Zicree ends up on the list simply because he wrote my all-time favorite He-Man episode, The Reign of the Monster. A story with rich lore, focusing on Stratos, and being one of the instances where Skeletor came the closest ever to actually winning the day. So for all that, Zicree really deserves some love. It might come as a bit of a shock that Zicree only wrote 3 episodes in total. And what were those other episodes? Well, they were The Curse of the Spellstone and Ordeal in the Darklands. Okay, so these both were featured in my bottom 10 He-Man episodes list for the first season, so how can I rank Zicree so highly? Well, I can forgive both of these episodes somewhat because they were both unfortunately directed by Gwen Wetzler, who is definitely one of the worst He-Man directors. Not to say that Zicree didn't show some weakness in these episodes. For instance, I've often complained about Teela's portrayal in Ordeal in the Darklands, as well as just how easily the citizens of Eternia turn against King Randor in the Spellstone episode. However, it's also obvious Zicree was really into exploring Eternia's past, which is the common thread through these episodes, as they all contain either ancient monsters, ancient artifacts, or both. And honestly, these are the best elements of all of these episodes, even the bad ones. And it is a shame Zicree didn't stick around to write more episodes because I think he really had a knack for this stuff. And it's just unfortunate that 2 of his scripts ended up getting butchered by the same director. But yes, even I'll agree, as much as I love Reign of the Monster, having Zicree any higher on the list would have been a stretch. At number 4, it's Robby London. Robby London is another season 1 writer, but unlike Zicree, he actually wrote 7 episodes in total, though 2 of these were co-writing efforts. He was, for instance, helping out in the very early episodes, like Diamond Ray of Disappearance and Disappearing Act, but by far, his best work happened midway through the season as he penned Dawn of Dragoon, which introduced 2 of my favorite characters on the show, Dragoon and Riel. And yes, London also wrote the episode Riel's Return, which appeared late in Season 1 and introduced another awesome character, Clawful. Not Yuckers. Also, London clearly had a knack for different morality tales, such as Double-Edged Sword, and it's obvious to me that he really just got the characters very well, which is why most of these episodes have a very friendly and relatable feeling to them. And to me, it is really a shame he didn't stick around for He-Man's 2nd season. For the sheer size of his body of work, he already beat Zicree. So, what was his worst episode? Well, unfortunately, it's The Royal Cousin. Yes, the worst He-Man episode ever. However, as surprising as it is, considering how many times I've lambasted this episode, I can actually kind of forgive London for this one. It's very obvious he was just told to write an episode about Adam's annoying cousin, and just wrote the most half-assed script he could, because all his other work definitely shows he was a much talented writer than this episode would let on. I say this because while Jeremy is an awful character, it's also obvious to me the episode director Ernie Schmidt also put in a minimal effort when he saw what a half-assed script he was having to work with. So no wonder what resulted was a terrible episode. I really don't have the heart to shit on London's otherwise excellent body of work just because he happened to write the worst episode in the series, so for that I had to put him at number 4. At number 3, it's J. Michael Straczynski. So we've had Season 1 only writers, but here we have the first Season 2 only writer. Straczynski, of course, is known as the creator of Babylon 5, and he was also a close friend of the late Larry DiTillio. The thing that Straczynski really excelled at, in my view, was taking pre-existing characters and using them, such as Granomir in the Battle of Dragons, Fisto in the games, and Cobra Khan in the Cold Zone. His worst episode is obviously Mistaken Identity, followed closely by Double Trouble, and I think these episodes do portray one huge problem in Straczynski's writing, which is his propensity to write kind of outlandishly far-fetched cartoon logic. Similarly, I kinda hate the original villain of The Origin of the Sorceress and plagiarizing Mr. Mixopiddle for Trouble's middle name, although again, the recurring character of that episode, Negator, was actually used somewhat well. I also do have to give him points for the fact that he really loved to expand the lore of the series, the same way Zicree does. And he did actually do that successfully in a number of episodes. And also, He-Man was literally the first TV show he ever wrote on, so I think I have to give him a little bit of slack for his lack of refinement in the writing, because he still very clearly understood the show pretty well. Even if he had a tendency of painting it with a big cartoon brush, I still always enjoy watching his episodes, and for that reason I had to put him in the top 3. And at number 2, it's Paul Dini. Now we come to our first writer who literally had no bad episodes to his name. Paul Dini is widely hailed as one of the best, if not the best, writer on He-Man, and for a good reason. This guy wrote Teela's Quest, Creatures from the Tar Swamp, Quest for He-Man, and Prince Adam No More, just to name a few. In some of his weaker episodes, like Pawns of the Game Master and Mystery of Many Faces, while not excellent, do contain his excellent dialogue. Yes, the thing that sets Dini apart from literally all other He-Man writers was the fact that he really understood the characters and wrote dialogue which really showed their personalities. You will almost always be able to spot a Dini script because the characters in the episode actually talk and act like real people and aren't just shouting action movie cliches, as tends to be the case in a lot of He-Man episodes. And this is the reason I always enjoy watching Dini's episodes. The only thing I can really criticize Dini for is that his episodes at times did feature very weak action sequences, which to me kind of signals that this wasn't something Dini was really into. However, Dini has also been very vocally critical of Filmation's script revision policy, so maybe this isn't entirely his fault either, and some of the fault probably also falls on the episode directors. And number 1, Larry DiTillio. Alright, so I've said before that DiTillio was my favorite He-Man writer, and he is certainly the writer with the largest body of work, with 17 episodes in total to his name. What made DiTillio such a great writer was that he was a good all-rounder when it came to writing He-Man episodes. He could do meaningful character portrayals like The Dragon's Gift, he could do action episodes like The Cosmic Comet, he could introduce complete wildcard characters like in The Cat and the Spider, he could do a horror episode like House of Chakotay, and he was also good at using pre-existing characters such as in Trouble in Trolla and The Bargain with Evil. DiTillio just really understood He-Man structure well and really could write practically anything. Of course, since he wrote so many episodes, it's only natural that DiTillio has a few stinkers to his name, such as the infamous Time Corridor, and in all fairness, I do think the quality of DiTillio's writing did suffer a bit during Season 2. Though to be fair, a lot of his Season 2 episodes have shared writing credits, so some of the blame there is shared. The thing is, even a bad DiTillio script is usually still entertaining, and I think he just portrays all the characters in a fun, relatable way. Yes, he wasn't as good at it as Paul Dini, but DiTillio really does get all the aspects of the episode right most of the time. The mightiest pen in the universe? Definitely. That's all from me for now. Until next time, I have the power, so can you. He-Man.